The Mom View is sponsored by the Herzog Foundation, and this is going to be a great show. Every day, 1,000 children go missing. That's 1,000 distraught mothers. It's also thousands of additional family members who are equally undone by the missing child. Today on the Mom View, we're joined by an NFL All-Star cast talking about how moms can be prepared ahead of time in case the unthinkable happens. Well, welcome to the Mom Cave, ladies.
I know, the set is different today.
So we have Debbie and Allie, and I love having Angelina Banks with us as a guest host again. It has been a pleasure to have you with us.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. So today we are talking about that unthinkable moment when somebody takes our child or they just are suddenly missing. And we've been in a store or we've been at a theme park, wherever we've been where that's happened, and your heart immediately sinks.
Yeah, I remember back when I've lost two of my children. I don't do this braggingly, but just terrified. You're terrified.
Absolutely.
They're terrified. Thank God you found them. Thank God that, they knew to go to the police officer or the security. No one stole them. But boy, you talk about just the worst thing you can ever, and then after that, I was like, you never out of my sight again.
Right.
So.
And it can happen so fast. And my kids grew up in the time of Adam Walsh. And I think the reason we have Gen Y is because Gen X bubble wrapped our kids. We were so terrified that somebody was going to take them that we put them in the house, put them in front of this great new thing that they came up with games on a TV screen, and then you get Gen Y. And so, it's really not totally their fault. But there was justification because it was a real scare. And not that it still isn't, it is. Now we have trafficking, and moms are always looking for tools and support that they can do to help protect their kids and prepare them when those things happen.
And
so what do you ladies do?
Let's face it, a mom will do anything to protect her kids.
That's right.
Anything. Because, I would just even imagine not being able to find my kid. Yeah. I think it's happened once or twice, in a store somewhere, they're little, and you turn your head to look at something, and they just run off. You're like, where is my kid?
And when you finally find them, you want to...
Right.
But then you're like, here's your just panic.
Yeah. I hope no one sees me, but I'm going to discipline you in the corner. Don't you dare. But how right now you see these children being stolen, from a grocery store or
the bus stop.
It
makes you crazy. I want to sew air tags into all their clothes or something.
Stealing
crazy.
Children.
And people do put air tags in their children's belongings. I think that's part of the reasons why you see even younger children with cell phones, because you can track their location.
Right.
But the thought of my child being taken is absolutely terrifying. And I live in the suburbs, and it's still something that I have to be vigilant about.
Yeah. Especially with an open border.
Yes.
Well, now it's not. Thank you, President Trump.
So I found a program when my kids were little called Safety Kids.
Yeah.
And it was 2 little books with just audio cassettes back at the day. Now they have CDs. I don't think you can need that anymore. But it was teaching them. It had a Safety Kids song, so it was really cute for the kids. Yeah. But it taught me as a mom things that I could do to help them protect themselves. So we don't think about, they don't even know their last name. Really, your mom. Not even sure they know their first name. So teach your children your first and your last name. Help them know their address. So they came up with a musical tune that you could use to help them teach their phone number. I came up with one for their addresses. And being in the military, we were moving every 3 to 4 years. So you had to know that they had that new number and that new address. So they have a lot of songs that they still remember. But things like that we can do to help protect them.
Well, we were talking just before the show started. We don't know anyone's cell numbers anymore.
That's right. Yeah.
Because you have to have your kids know your cell numbers and all that. I couldn't call you. I couldn't call anybody because I don't have it memorized. Yep. Even my son, he's like, I need to learn a map. Because I do everything through GPS. So there are a lot of good things come out of it, but there's a lot of challenges if you had to find your way or contact someone that is not usual then.
So we do a fun thing when we're doing walks or scooter rides in the neighborhood. I let the children pick which way. And so they get to decide left or right, straight, and then they get to navigate themselves back home. And so it's fun and reassuring in the car when we're driving somewhere. And they're like, oh, this is how we get to so-and-so. This is how we get to this place.
Yeah,
If we
right.
turn here, this is how we get home. And it wasn't something we did, as
A
it was,
safety
yeah, it was just
measure.
something we did for fun. And then we realized that it was beneficial.
Repetition.
Yes.
It's amazing.
And giving them the ability to drive.
I think this is definitely a time where we're looking for tools
Yeah.
and any kind of resources to be able to protect our kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the massive amount of trafficking and how they're gone in a minute and they're really gone.
Yeah.
And in those critical hours, it's really in 3 hours, that's what you have to be able to get your child back. We are actually going to be talking about that today. When we return, entrepreneur and former NFL player Kenny Hansmeier joins us to talk about a safety tool for kids that moms need to have in their arsenal. And that's next, just after the break.
The Herzog Foundation exists to catalyze and accelerate the development of quality, Christ-centered K-12 education so that families and culture flourish. To do so, we've created comprehensive programs designed for Christian schools across the nation. One of those programs is found at readlion.com. The Lion carries news articles covering issues especially related to the education of children. These are timely, critical, must-read articles for families, educators, and leaders. Another program is the Herzog Foundation Institute, where we provide training for Christian educators led by national thought leaders in subjects such as marketing, donor development, and culture building. All training events are fully funded by the Herzog Foundation. And finally, with new Christian schools popping up all over the country, we've created a free online resource to help with the process. HF Schoolbox provides lessons and free mentorship to help launch groups navigate the startup process every step of the way. We're the Herzog Foundation. You can find out more at herzogfoundation.com.
Welcome back to the Mom View. We all know what an Amber Alert is, but what you might not know is that it started with the abduction and murder of a 9-year-old little girl in Arlington, Texas. Another weapon to protect kids came out of this tragedy. It's called Child ID, and we're here talking about it today. Kenny Hansmeier. He is an entrepreneur from Texas and a former NFL player. He is determined to do everything in his power to protect kids, kind of like we are. Welcome, Kenny.
Thank you so much. Great to be here.
So it is so good to have you. I want to start with this quote because it's by Randy White, who's going to be joining us later today on the set. Playing defense is all about playing smart and being prepared. I think that is a perfect quote that goes along with Child ID.
Absolutely.
So I'm just going to give my little snippet of how powerful this is. I carried around 8, because I have 8 children, 8 Child ID kits for like 15 years while my kids were growing up, because I wanted to be prepared and I needed that peace of mind, I guess. And in 2004, it became a really big blessing, because my son Noah was 4 years old at the time. We were at Disney World and he disappeared. And he disappeared for a good 2 hours. And it was absolutely terrifying. And the worst, you think the worst automatically. And somebody's got him. How am I going to get him back? And everybody was so amazing. The security, the people in the park, they all came and they're like, how can I help you? And I'm like, I don't know. Wait a minute. Yes, I do. And I pull out, because I carried it with me in my purse for almost 15 years, pulled it out, and I had a picture, I had vital information, and they were able to go and find him. And it was when we were reunited, I was like, thank God. And that was such a blessing to have that day.
Yeah.
So tell me about Child ID. How'd you start it? How's it work?
Well, again, what happened, of course, great things come out of tragedy.
Yeah.
The Amber Alert, of course, and then this program. What happened was Amber's mother struggled to find DNA and fingerprint information, and so law enforcement had to go in and fingerprint toys and pull hair out of hairbrushes. On the 7th day when Amber was found, they had just finished 6 days of forensics at the house trying to find biometric information. And of course, Amber's abductor has never been found. But what happened was the American Football Coaches Association, that's the association for all the college coaches in America, we had an idea that we have a captured audience of mothers and fathers and fans and guardians in our college game, that we ought to come up with an in-home fingerprinting kit that we might be able to give out to our fans. So in 1997, we had 98 Division I universities hand out almost 2.9 million ID kits to our fans as they exited the stadium. The PA announcement, we had 3 PA announcements that here at Notre Dame, as you exit the stadium today, please get your ID kit as a gift of safety from the American football coaches and Notre Dame Athletics. Help us protect our communities. So the next year, it was only going to be a 2-year program. We opened it up to all division universities, 554 all division universities participated that next year. And then we had 28 NFL teams hand ID kits out. You have a Dallas Cowboy Hall of Famer here today. Jerry Jones will tell you he's the first NFL owner to hand out our kits, and he was. And from that point, we had a young governor by the last name of Bush that happened to be at a Texas A&M game, got 2 ID kits for his daughters. The coaches ended up getting a phone call from the governor's office on how can we do all 4 million Texas school kids. And so in 1998, we raised funds. Of course, the governor didn't have money at the time. We had to raise $6 million to take care of those children. Troy Aikman and Roger Staubach signed 1,000 Cowboy helmets, the 2 winning Super Bowl quarterbacks. Nolan Ryan signed 1,000 jerseys. We got a couple of cars donated from Ford. And credit unions helped raise that money to be able to take care of 4 million Texas school children.
That is absolutely fantastic.
Absolutely amazing.
And somewhere along the line, it went national because law enforcement across the country got involved. It became part of the DARE program,
Yes,
and
ma'am.
it was being handed out at all these different club meetings. That's how I found out about it,
Yes, ma'am.
because they were coming to little fairs and festivals, and the DARE program would be there, and they'd be handing out these kits, and I was so glad I connected with them.
I remember registering for, my kids with the sheriffs.
Yes, ma'am.
Kind of like maybe of a different program.
Yes,
Can
ma'am.
you explain
Absolutely.
this program versus the one that Kimberly had?
Absolutely. So it's centralized fingerprinting versus decentralized. So you'll see sheriffs at the mall, maybe at Halloween, set up a computer. You'll see parents in line and they're fingerprinting the children, and then they're handing an ID kit to that parent, and that's centralized fingerprinting. So when you have 2 law officers, you can only do about 100 to 200 children a day because it's time consuming. The other thing is you'll watch minorities step back because they might have had a bad experience with law enforcement, so they don't go forward to have their children fingerprinted because you don't know where those fingerprints are going in that computer. So this is a lot easier. Just again, go back to football. We can have 30,000 ID kits handed out to our fans in less than 30 minutes. They can take it home, fill it out, keep it back in case of an emergency. Your audience should know this does not go into a database.
Right.
I have a 4 and a 6-year-old daughter, daddy's girls. They're now 26 and 28. Their ID kits are still in my Bible today. I never had to use them, but they will stay there just in case. And so that's the most important thing that your fans or your audience needs to know. It's a gift of safety, and we hope it's never used.
This is something that is completely foreign to me. I did not. I mean, my first kid was born in 2008, and I don't think I've ever seen this on outside of a military base.
Yes, ma'am.
So we've participated on the military base with this. We need our kids to have IDs and things like that. They weren't really fingerprinted. We just had an ID of who they were, their height, their age, a picture, a current picture. But I had never seen anything like this. Even, I mean, I grew up watching football and all that, but I don't ever remember specifically seeing this. So I like that you explained what child ID is, and I think you kind of touched on a little bit why moms should participate. Could you touch on that one more time for us?
Absolutely.
Because you have to repeat it, but also how much does it cost us?
Okay. Basically, the kits, if you anytime you order 1 or 2, because you have mailing that you have to do, if you went on our website, it's going to cost you $9.95. But most of the time when we're doing mass distributions, 1 million kits for the state of Texas, or 1 million kits going out in Ohio, it gets down to about $2.95. Wow. So again, we can't even buy a hamburger at McDonald's anymore. at less
Right,
than
not for that.
$9. So again, it shouldn't hinder you to be able to get the ID kit for your child. But we'll talk about that a little bit later about what we're working on with moms, because again, you have the mothers, 90% of the mothers are the ones, of course, that are filling the kit out at the kitchen table. Dads don't even know what's going on. They're just hopefully
Whatever you need, honey.
Hopefully, everything's good and they just want to get home. But it's moms that are the caregiver, the caretaker of the home. It takes 5 minutes to fill the ID kit out.
What information do you put is in
Right.
there?
Yeah. Well, here, let's look at it just for a second. It's very simple. This is one of our kits. This is our National Night Out kit. We're partnered with the National Night Out, of course, Moms for America. That kit there happens to have Moms for America. That is the Super Bowl kit that we got 200,000 of those kits out at the Super Bowl. Super Bowl is one of the most human traffic events in the world.
Right.
And we wanted our fans to be able to take a kit home, fill it out in case of an emergency. But it's very simple. It's not time consuming. Inside the kit is a place for fingerprints, DNA information.
Wow.
Very quick. Right here, there's a place for DNA. A child sucks on it for about a minute, embeds DNA. On the back, there's height, weight information, a place for a photo. Now you can tell this is aged a little bit because back in the day, you would take a photo and put it on your back here. But what police will ask when you turn this over to them to report your child missing, they'll ask for a more updated photo from your phone. And 80% of the information that's on this is what law enforcement needs to report your child missing. What's not on it is, if your child ran away, do they have a car? Do they have any money? Do they have a boyfriend? Do they have a cell phone? So that's updated information. But everything that's from DNA to fingerprints are on here. And what's unique about this is, I'll fill it out real quick. When we were going to do 1 million kits, we ended up doing 2.7, 2.8 that first year. It had to be inkless. Many of us have seen ink strips where you pull it open and
all
try to
over
put
your
it on
clothes.
Right.
Exactly.
It's a mess.
So the coaches, in their great wisdom, and thank God, if you were going to do 1 million ID kits and you had 1% of parents complain that you got it on your clothes or your couch, that's 10,000 complaints. It's going to shut your program down very quickly. So this is inkless. There's no ink involved. There is a place for the fingerprint, and you put your fingerprint down. It has a chemical reaction with the paper,
Look at that.
and it leaves no ink on your hand. And the fingerprints pop up.
That
So-
is
Look at
amazing.
this.
Amazing.
Wow.
so-
That is amazing. That is really cool.
Very interesting. And then the fingerprint.
So
shows
when a
up.
mom calls me and says, "Hey, I got ink on the sofa," I said, "That is impossible.
from
That is
you."
not our."
You are wrong.
That's right.
This is
Send me that kit.
awesome. So I want to talk more about this because there's a lot to talk about with this program and our partnership. After the break, Hall of Famers and Super Bowl champions Mike Singletary and Randy White join us. So don't go away.
America is under attack. Our families are being crushed under the politics of a radical agenda. But moms have had enough. We are standing up and we are fighting back.
This is our battle. This battle is every bit as important as the Revolutionary War because we fight for the same thing.
Moms for America is a national movement of moms reclaiming our culture for truth, family, freedom, and the Constitution.
I think Moms for America is exactly on track and is doing the right thing for the future of our country and our children.
Like, Moms for America is going at the heart of the issue.
I want to go on the record and say I'm for moms, I'm for America, and I'm especially for Moms for America.
But I am honored to join Moms for America today as we speak out against the horrific mandates.
With a national network of over 500,000 mothers, Moms for America is one of the fastest growing movements of women in the country.
The most dangerous place in all of nature is between a mama bear and her baby cub.
We are the change. No matter what, no matter where, and no matter how difficult the obstacles are that are facing us and our families, we will not give up and we will not give in.
So if not now, then when? If not you, then who?
Welcome to the Momland Revolution. Welcome back to the Mom View. I'm turning into a bit of a fangirl right now because we've just added 2 NFL superstars to our set. Randy White and Coach Mike Singletary are right here in person. Both have been inducted into the NFL Hall of Fame, and both are Super Bowl champions for different teams and different years. Known as the Manster, Randy White played 13 seasons with the Dallas Cowboys as a defensive tackle. His Cowboys Super Bowl 12 win was against Denver Broncos. Before he went into coaching, Samurai Mike Singletary made quite a name for himself in his 12 seasons as a linebacker for the Chicago Bears. And if you're old enough, you might even remember this.
I'm Samurai Mike, I stop 'em cold. Part of the defense, big and bold. I've been jamming for quite a while, doing what's right and setting the style. Give me a chance, I'll rock you good. Nobody messing in my neighborhood. I didn't come here looking for trouble. I just came to do the Super Bowl shuffle. We are the Bears, shuffling crew, shuffling on down, doing it for you. We're so bad, we know we're good, blowing your mind like we knew we would. You know we're just
Yes.
All right.
Oh boy.
Okay,
That's iconic, Coach. I love it. I love it.
Last in the past. We need to learn that.
I have
song. It's better than Macarena.
Yep, we're going to do it.
Full disclaimer, Pam Selleck, who is the senior producer, was like, we have to do it. And I'm from Chicago. We're both from Chicago, so we had to do it, Coach Mike. So.
I love it. I love it.
So the big question, gentlemen, is I know why I'm passionate about child ID, but why would two NFL greats be interested in this program?
Want me to go first, or you want to go?
Go first, Mike. Go
all
ahead.
right. For me, first of all, I met Kenny Hansmeier right at the same time the pandemic was coming about. And so there are a lot of things shutting down and people staying at home and what have you. And so I asked Kenny, so what are you doing? He said, well, I got this child ID program, and I'm going to continue to do that. And now that the pandemic is coming about, it's even more important. So I said, well, child ID, what is that? So he began to talk to me and really inform me that, kids were coming up missing. And I didn't even know this was going on. I didn't know it was happening in our country. So for me, I said, well, how can I help? Because it was extremely important to me. I mean, you think about your kids and the possibility of them coming up missing. And I thought, wow, if the officials came to our house, I wouldn't have anything. I wouldn't have anything to give them. They're asking me all these questions, and I wouldn't have anything. So for me, knowing that was a tool that allows me to be proactive as a parent, when the officials come, rather than spending that time talking to me, I give them that kit. Hey, here's all the information you need to identify my kid. So that to me is a way for parents to really be proactive and do something, and hopefully you never have to use it, but in case you do, you have it.
Right.
So to me, that's extremely important.
Yeah,
That's fantastic. So it's as great as you are, you're still thinking like a dad, and how can you use your experience and your fan base to be able to promote that? I really appreciate that.
Sure.
As a mom. Randy, why'd you get involved?
Well, I met Kenny back in a long time
It's
ago.
Well,
Nobody
it was
wants
funny.
to say how long ago.
As I'd mentioned earlier, Roger signed 1,000 helmets with Troy Aikman when we raised that money. What Roger said, hey, Kenny, I've got a real job. I'm going to introduce you to somebody that's going to carry the torch for us from this point on. And so I met Randy through Roger Staubach right around 2000. And Roger said, hey, you're going to speak on this program. I'd like for you to get involved with it. And he goes, well, how long do I have to be involved with it? And Roger said, until Kenny doesn't need you anymore. And Randy's been together. We've been together since 20. So.
No, it's a great program. Back then, I was looking for something to do to help kids. I mean, that's a passion of mine. I've always had that. For what reason, I don't know. And this just made perfect sense of something I could get involved with, that you kind of giving back. I've had such a great life and everything. I've been lucky. And I want to be sure that every kid out there has a great life. And this is one way that you can, if something, God forbid, if somebody ever went missing, this child ID kit could expedite finding them, or giving the parents some peace of knowledge in long term. And it's just something that I'm proud to be involved with and continue to stay involved with. And for as long as I've been doing it, it hasn't changed. We're still helping kids, we're helping parents, we're educating them, like Mike said. And the more knowledge you have as a parent, the more confidence you're going to have in what you're doing and raising your kids and doing things right. So if I can be a part of that, I'm going to be a part of it. So that's why I got involved.
It's wonderful.
It's powerful to have the NFL backing such a valuable program. And we have law enforcement across the country, attorney generals across the country. So it's a really good opportunity to bring people together for something that's going to benefit families. And Moms for America is absolutely thrilled to be able to be a part of the partnership. When Kenny was telling me that his goal is to get 500,000 kits distributed, you think you can do that? And I'm like, yeah, in about a weekend.
Of course.
Well, no, she's being modest. What she said was, I said, do you think you could do 10 kits per mom? She goes, we can do 100 kits. I said, I can't have you doing the whole country in one weekend. That's going to make us look, or make the law enforcement look bad. So, but our goal to work together is to basically provide 5 million ID kits through Moms for America, and maybe we do that, every year, working with law enforcement. But it's a great blessing, and we're honored. Again, I'm so honored. To work with you and your organization. And again, we do have some great partners in the NFL alumni, and Pro Football Hall of Fame, and our law enforcement partners. But again, moms lead the household, and moms lead their community. So we're very, very grateful.
So Kenny, we talked about this a little bit over the break, and I want to go back to it.
Yes, ma'am.
How does having the kit already processed for a family, how does that expedite the process in returning them home if they go missing?
I gave when we were off the air, I gave an example of Elizabeth Smart. When Elizabeth was taken in Utah, many of your audience will know that story. They were a Mormon family, 7 children, Ed and his wife. Can you imagine they didn't have anything to turn over? So now law enforcement had to come in and fingerprint toys, look for hair and hairbrushes. And so it was basically these fingerprints match this child, so we know what that is. But all of a sudden, you don't have Elizabeth there. So maybe these fingerprints, or maybe this hair belongs to Elizabeth. But there were 13 other specimens of fingerprints and hair. So again, this kit would have expedited that very, very quickly. And again, we moved very, very quickly to help provide ID kits into Utah at that time.
You said it took, 8 weeks to actually...
Law enforcement going into that house took 8 weeks looking for biometric information, either fingerprints or DNA. Right. And I want to, we get beaten up all the time. It's an ID kit, okay? We're not in a database. So when somebody asks us or asks law enforcement, can you tell us how many children have been brought home by this ID kit? We're not in a database, so we don't know when law enforcement's turned over. It's turned over to law enforcement. They don't call and say, hey, this is what it is. But I will tell you this, we're going to speak today for about 25, 30 minutes. And inside, how we identify people in America or around the world is fingerprints, DNA, and facial recognition. Right. So this card has fingerprints, DNA, and a place for a photo. So in this 25 minutes, there's going to be over 100,000 people identified somewhere in America with fingerprints. You're going to be able to walk through an airport and have facial recognition. That's probably going to happen 300,000 times in this segment. And so it's not the ID kit that brings somebody home. It's the fingerprints, the DNA, and facial recognition or a picture that actually is used to identify.
And having it in one place. And it's very important that you said it's not in a database. So when say donors, want to know, well, how many kids have you saved, or how many, we need to talk about how many kits have been distributed and how many parents have been able to use them, because we don't want to be in a database. We don't want our children in a database.
Right. That's right.
So the value is in having it and having it with us so that when we need it, we decide when we're handing it over to law enforcement. There's another side of this, and it's the hard conversation side, but the fact is children are taken, and they do sometimes end up dead.
Yes, ma'am.
And you
Absolutely.
can't find them. So if you want to, another way to protect children is, and I've spoken to various different law enforcement, members of law enforcement about this, and they said what a great tool and resource it is for them, because then they have prosecutory evidence that they would not have. So when you can hand that over, and if they don't find your child or they find your child deceased, then they are able to attach it to the perpetrator, and then the prosecutors can lock them up so they don't hurt any more children.
Yes, ma'am.
And while I would never want anything to happen to my child, I would at least know that because of what I have, I'm able to stop that person from harming someone else.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, if you take your child's fingerprints, like right now, they're 4 years old, right? Will they still be readable in 10 years
Yes, ma'am.
with this?
Yeah, you actually have a fingerprint in the 5th month in the womb.
Right.
And so you have a positive identifier. It's a very small little fingerprint.
It follows.
But it of course grows, but that is your positive identifier.
And so it
Yes,
stays
ma'am.
on the sheet, doesn't
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
disintegrate or anything
Yeah,
like
as
that?
long as you put it in a safe, dry place. Sometimes people say, oh, I'm going to put it in a safety deposit box. No, don't do that, because if something happens over the weekend, you can't get to it.
Right.
So just put it in. For me, it was my Bible. Okay. I know where my Bible is. I know if I was on the road, I know where the kit is. I can call my mom if I need the kit. It's in my Bible where you go get it. And so wherever you keep your valuable information is where I would recommend keeping it.
Mine was in my purse because I never know when I need it.
The other thing I
I
was
keep
gonna say-
telling him that. He's like, no, it needs to be safe. That was safe.
Yeah, that was, yeah.
The other thing I was going to say too, to the guys here, is that the culture's become, I mean, it's a crazier place than it's ever been, and it is a dangerous place for our kids. And I think things like this, are just so helpful, because we're hearing about this all the time, children being stolen and going missing. And to your point, Mike, is that you didn't really maybe know that this was happening, and to raise awareness of this is really happening, and this really is a national crisis.
It's amazing to me that I didn't know anything about that particular thing happening in our country. I hadn't heard anything about it until I talked to Kenny. And when you really think about it, with the amount of freedom that the kids have today, and they have no idea who's on the other end of that phone.
Right.
They have no idea.
No.
And I say all the time, our kids were a little older before we allowed them to have a phone, and they, well, we want a phone. It ain't happening.
Right.
And the reason why is because, who's at the other end of this phone? I wouldn't let anybody come into my home, just anybody, but you just never know who they're talking to. They don't even know. They think they do,
And the groomers
but they don't.
are out of it.
So, the outside world is getting really, really smart about how they do things, how they manipulate kids, how they do it. And if we're not on our end doing the best that we can as parents to protect our kids, I don't want to make it sound like, oh man, we better. No, it's just something that's smart to do. It's as simple as that. I'm really thankful that Kenny thought of it, because I think that it really, really helps a lot of families feel a lot better about if something ever happens. God forbid it does, but if something ever happens, I got to jump on something. I got to jump on it. And that's what we can do. That's one of the things that we can do.
Right.
Yes.
The fact that we're sitting here talking and we have an audience that's going everywhere,
That's right.
we're creating awareness, right? And there's so many people out there, we take for granted that everybody knows this and everybody knows what's going on. Everybody knows what a child ID kit is. No, that's not the truth. So my hat goes off to y'all for the job you're doing of getting the word out there. I mean, you're doing a wonderful job. And how many kids you saved from this show today? I don't know, but you're doing a great job. And without you, this wouldn't be happening. And without Kenny, Mike, good people that care about other people, that want everybody to know what's going on. That's the thing. Education, knowledge, when you have that, you can make good choices and good decisions. And that's what y'all are doing. And I take my hat off to you. You take your hat off to me. I take my hat off more to y'all. So.
Well, that's
why you're a little competitive.
That's why the partnership is so incredibly important, because we each have a role to play. And you're right. Not enough people know about this. And I'm just gonna be honest, Kenny. I thought it was gone because I hadn't heard about it. It's like it seemed to disappear. And I started to ask myself, is it because my kids got older and I didn't feel like I needed it anymore? No, it just kind of disappeared. I feel like, and we need to bring it back. And because now I've got 9 grandchildren, and dang, I'm gonna turn into Grammy Grizzly if you're gonna mess with my kids, and to have something for my grandkids. And so when we got the kids from the NFL, and I was like, can I take some home? And you're like, yes. So it gave me a fistful of them. First thing I did was go home and say, okay, all my grandkids are getting ID. If your parents aren't going to do it, I'm going to do it. That's right. I need to know that we have those, and they are in a safe place at the house. But
yeah, I don't want you backpacking them around the country.
So what this
they're not
kind
my
of,
kids.
and I know we talk about how awful Disney's become, but I grew up on Disney. I was, 80s kid, grew up on Disney. One of my favorite movies was 101 Dalmatians. And remember when the puppies go missing? And the dogs were barking, and they were doing like this community outreach of trying to figure out what these kids, what the puppies looked like. And it's almost like it taught us as kids to grow up as parents. Like if your child goes missing in that moment, that's how you're supposed to, reach out to the people that are in the area. I remember seeing a video of a mom. She lost her daughter in the mall, and she was literally saying, "Child's missing, 5 years old, wearing pink shoes, orange shirt, ponytail, blonde hair." Someone else who was military caught on and started repeating the same thing that she was repeating, and it ended up being this big giant thing of hundreds of parents in the same area doing the same thing. This is almost like that. I mean, technically, in a way. But because law enforcement is coming to you, you're able to hand them something that is tangible for them to look, so they're not wasting their time. If you're standing there and your child's missing, you're screaming, "Oh my God, where's my kid? Angie, where's my kid?" Nobody knows what your kid looks like. So make sure that you understand that is also important. If that situation happens in that moment, you describe your child as you're looking for them, so other people can catch on and do the same thing.
Expediting this quickly and right away.
And when we're educating, parents are becoming educated, so it never gets to the point where they need the ID kit.
Right.
That's our goal.
Right.
We don't want a parent to have to use the ID kit.
Right.
So the awareness.
And they found her. She was abducted. Someone took her. And they found her by doing that.
If parents know, they're going to put up their own little defense system.
Right.
In along with the child ID. But prior to them going missing, that's where it needs to be addressed.
Right.
Yes.
And that's where the safety part needs to be put in.
Yeah.
Protecting our kids.
Anyway, that's.
And all we're trying to do
we're on the
is
same. We're agreeing.
all we're trying to do is provide a gift of safety that we hope you never use. We want parents to fill something out. It takes 5 minutes. Hopefully you never have to use it. Ed Smart used to say this: "I'd rather you be prepared and not scared." And because
so
ultimately, if you're not prepared and something happens to your child, then basically you're scrambling to try to find information. What we want to be able to do is provide law enforcement what they need, get looking for my child, and then I'm going to go look for my child, and let's get this done.
That is an old adage, right? I'd rather have it and not need it than need it and not have it.
Yep.
Well, and when I needed it, I was so glad I had it.
In your purse, by the way.
Yes, in my purse. I literally did carry them around the whole time I was raising my kids, because I was terrified. The whole Adam Walsh thing just terrified me.
Absolutely.
And it was that peace of mind that I had. And I still get kind of choked up when I think about it. 2 hours, my little boy was missing, and I wasn't sure he was going to come back.
And those 2 hours seem like 2 weeks.
It was horrible and horrific. And when I was able to pull that child ID kit out of my purse, I was like, okay, at least I've got something.
Yep.
And it made all the difference. So this is a great program.
Thank you.
And we all have, our child have all wandered and lost them for a period of time.
Right.
I lost one of mine at a Bulls game. And I mean, for a moment, I just thought we were all, and what would have happened? What would I have done? Thank God we found him right away, but 2 minutes seems like 20 hours.
That's right.
And you never know. And now with people taking our children and the groomers online, it's something that, we have to be the the first line of defense, but we have to have something literally in our pocket that can help
Ready
save our
to go.
kids.
Well, I wanted to say something about Coach Singletary. Coach Singletary, how many grandkids do you have now?
16.
16.
I'm so jealous.
So basically, your audience needs to know that Coach Singletary is taking half the kits out of the country. And we're putting those to the side because there's more grandkids to come.
It's so good.
And but no, he's got a great family, and again, they've both been. They're
so
my
nice,
friends. I love them both. They mean a lot to me, and we're just grateful.
Awesome. All right, well, we're going to come right back with some tips and safety prevention after this break.
All right.
For the moms of Moms for America out there, Cardio Miracle really truly helped me out personally, and I could see that. But it also helped my mom out, it helped my wife out, it helped my sister out, it helped my friends out. I've really seen the benefits, and this is a time for healing our bodies, our minds, and our souls. And Cardio Miracle has done that for me, and I think it also can do it for our moms. Head to our link, cardiomiracle.com/moms for a discount and to get started today.
And we're back on the Mom View to talk about some tips that parents and kids could be prepared for. And all of these can be found on childidprogram.com.
Yes, ma'am.
So you can go there and get some of these tips. We're going to discuss in a minute, but I want to talk a little bit about what we've got cooking with the White House.
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, cooking at the White House. 4 years ago, law enforcement's always asking for these kits. And the attorney generals across the country had asked the president in 20 if he would provide 30 million ID kits to law enforcement that we could get out in our communities. Those would go to law enforcement, school districts, churches, national night outs, our stadium distribution. And the president at the time said, yes, we will move forward with that. And he would honor getting out 30 million kits across the country in that request. Right now, of course, he's come in his first 100 days. Law enforcement has asked for almost 35 to 40 million kits to be able to get out into our communities. So literally, I guess it's been 4 weeks ago, Senator Ted Cruz delivered those packets of information or those requests, along with Coach Singletary, had a letter from the Pro Football Hall of Fame that was signed by 50 Hall of Famers, not to endorse Child ID, but to endorse the request of law enforcement needing the kits.
And Moms for America.
And Moms for America and the Caribbean Law Enforcement, National Congress of American Indians, NOBLE, National Organization of Black Law Enforcement Executives. So everybody from the National Sheriff's Association, troopers, everybody's well represented, needing these kits to try to get out to parents.
Yeah, we're hungry for
and
them.
we're working right now to see if we can make that happen.
Again. And this would be a perfect project for the president because he cares very much about kids, and he's already approved it in a previous administration. So I think we can do that. We got some pretty good things we're working on. Make sure that kids get them because I want them.
Yeah, they will. And again, the Office of Faith that they've created at the White House.
That's right.
They are wanting those kits to go out to churches. And a lot of people don't know, in 2009, we did the largest faith-based initiative in U.S. history. 7,200 churches handed our kits out across the country. So if we get this,
let's do that again.
If the request is honored, and again, we're not asking for federal money. We have private partners that will come, if they're asked to step up. We have utility partners all across the country, and utilities want to protect those that they serve. Right. And again, if we pull this off, it will be the largest child safety initiative in U.S. history.
I think that's what we should tell the president.
Yeah.
That is amazing.
It really is a big deal. And I think that now is the time that it's needed more than ever. And when a lot of people are talking about the child trafficking and everything, this is a great way to deter that. So one thing that the tip that I will put out there, and Pam, our producer, brought it up, is I always had my kits with me, but she brought up a very good point. You should have one at home too, because if for some reason you're out shopping and you've got this thing in your purse and something happens, somebody is at home who can look it up and get that information to who needs it right away. So that would be mine. Get two.
Yeah, give it to grandma. Yeah.
There you go. What do you got, Angelina?
One of my tips, especially being the mom of daughters, is always, always accompany your child to the bathroom.
Yes.
Good idea.
Yeah.
Good idea.
Mine would be always to create an environment where you can speak with your children. Allow them to know that they can come to you in case there's anything outside of the ordinary. Somebody talked to them, somebody touched them, somebody approached them in an inappropriate way, tried to get information out of them. You have to be the safe place for your children.
Yeah. Mine would be, and this is as crazy as it seems, is that everyone has to know your phone number. Because if you lose your phone, because everything is programmed, like I was saying, Kimberly, I couldn't call you on the phone because I just hit your picture, you know, so our kids all had to know our phone numbers. They have to know their addresses, but these are some of the things kids aren't even learning now because everything is virtual or everything is in your phone. People, you know, even just MapQuest, finding an address now is a challenge because everything is relying on the phone. So the phone number, the address, you know, both
Your
parents,
full name, your
full
parents'
name, and
names.
it's not just mom. You know,
Right.
so they really have to be educated on where they live and who they can call, and have that without their phone.
Yeah.
Mine would just be know who you're talking to. I mean, it's a lot of times you think you're talking to somebody and you'll find that you're not. And you know, so many kids, you know, kids think that because there's so much knowledge on the phone, you know, you think the phone is your friend, and the phone is not honest all the time. And you got to make sure that there needs to be a way for you to know who you're talking to, and make sure you know.
That's a good one. Randy?
Well, I tell you, I got a couple grandkids,
Oh.
and I want to know where they are every minute of every day. I want to know what time they're coming home. And my one grandson made the mistake of not calling and staying after school to compete in a sport. I tell you, I was almost up there at I finally found out where he was. But that is something we need to teach the kids. They need to know. If you're going to do something, okay, tell us about it. Let us know. And educate them. If you don't know somebody, they're not your friend. If they're nice to you, you come get me. You come get me, and I'll decide whether we want to talk to them or not.
Right.
You tell them, go see my papa.
I love it.
Go see my papa.
You can be my papa.
Maybe, I don't think I want to see Papa.
Maybe we shouldn't have had a Chicago Bear and a Cowboy together. Randy's getting kind of.
I mean,
you know, thank God it's not the Philadelphia Eagles against the Cowboys.
Bear and a cowboy. I mean, can't get any better
Somebody
than
had
that.
bad intentions,
That's right.
and the child says, "Hey, go see my papa, Mike." They're going to run to the other side of the room, right? They're not going to want to do that. But if our kids have that kind of knowledge and have that kind of strength to perform that way, I think the problem would be helped a lot more.
Yeah,
agreed.
And you know, with this culture of like defunding police, right, and this fear behind police officers and law enforcement, I think it's also important for our parents to teach their kids that in an emergency, law enforcement is there to help you and
That's
assist
right.
you.
They are your friend. One last tip I'll give is one of the things that Safety Kids, that program, taught us was tell your kids to look for a mother or look for a grandmother or mother with children. If you find yourself lost, stay in place. Look for a grandmother or mother with children, and that was a really good tip that we used.
Great.
That's actually one of the ways that we found my son when he was lost. So I want to give that website again. It is childidprogram.com. You've got to go there, get some tips, find out all the information that they provide, and you can get child ID kits there,
ma'am.
and we will be dispersing them very shortly, right, sir?
Yes, ma'am. Yes.
All right, so thank you for joining us on the Mom View today. Don't forget, you can share any story idea with us, any guest that you'd like us to have on at themomview.com, and join us on all socials like share at The Real Mom View. And we will see you next week
Thank you so much.
on the couch on the Mom View.